Like with the prose and natural science passages, in order to clarify the process of how you answer certain questions, we are not going to go over the questions in order. Instead, we are again going to go over them in groups based on how you approach answering the questions. Okay, so now let's look at the last group of questions. Now, in previous passages like the prose and natural science, the last group of questions focused on trusting the process of elimination, like what we just did with number 11. So when you can't seem to find the answer that feels correct, so instead you just have to select the answer that you haven't decided is wrong. But in this case, with the social science passage, our last group of questions is actually going to focus on correct perspective. In this passage, as with many other social science passages, the author describes a perspective on a topic, and then he offers his or her own perspective. And it's very important to keep straight what the author thinks about the topic from the other ideas described or presented by the author. So to better understand the difference in these perspectives, let's look at number 2. According to the author, the Pinto landmark narrative assumed that. Okay, so is this question asking what the author assumed? No, this question is asking what the landmark narrative assumed. So another way to think about this is that the author strongly disagrees with the landmark narrative. So can you say in your own words what it is that the author strongly disagrees with? Well, we've said this before. He makes it clear that he disagrees with the idea that Ford knowingly made defective Pintos because making money was the top priority. So that's what the landmark narrative stands for, right? This thing that he disagrees with. So if we look through the answer choices, we see that choice A says, Ford's attempt to maximize profits regardless of safety consequences causes the most problems for the Pinto. Well, this matches this idea. Now, you do need to be careful because the other choices describe aspects of the author's argument. But remember, the question is asking what the landmark narrative assumed, not what the author thinks. And so the best choice here is A. Now, to compare it, let's look at number 3. The author of this passage argues that. Okay, so this question is asking what the author thinks. So let's go through the choices, looking for an idea that the author would agree on. So choice A says, Ford's attempt to maximize profits regardless of safety consequences caused the most problems for the Pinto. Okay, so this is incorrect because the author does not think that Ford put profits ahead of safety. So we can eliminate choice A. Choice B says Ford automakers were well aware of the dangerous defect. Again, the author does not think this is true. In fact, the author spends an entire paragraph discussing how large the Ford organization was and therefore how difficult it was to share information. So choice B is out. Let's look at choice C. The Pinto was more dangerous than compact foreign vehicles. Again, the author makes a point of stating that the Pinto was no less safe than other cars on the market, so choice C is wrong. Okay, so now our last choice, D. Various groups of workers located in separate departments had substantially differing responsibilities and constraints. Well, as we just noted when ruling out choice B, the author does believe that Ford had many departments, which made the sharing of information difficult. And thus, even though it's oddly worded, choice D is the best answer. So moving on to number 8. The author of this passage would most disagree with which of the following statements? Okay, again, the key is in the question. Let's make sure we're thinking about what the author would disagree with. So let's start with choice A. The organizational structure at Ford may have contributed to the Pinto problem in a manner that was not malicious. Well, this seems just like question 3 that we just went over. We know that the author would agree with this statement, so choice A is wrong. Let's look at choice B. Ford's actions were not atypical given the societal and institutional environment. Well, again, based on what we just said from number 3, the author would agree with this statement. So choice B is out. Okay, how about choice C? The Pinto story shows that capitalist corporate behavior is a pervasive social problem. Well, you really have to know what pervasive means, so if you don't, then you can neither select nor eliminate this choice, So let's move on for just a moment to choice D. Ford believed the Pinto had a similar safety record to other cars in its class. Again, question 3 helps us out. The author would definitely agree with this statement, so choice D is wrong. So this means that even if you do not know what pervasive means, you can still select choice C by process of elimination. But to clarify, pervasive means a common or universal. So the author would disagree that the Pinto story shows that capitalist corporate behavior or companies making money is a universal social problem. So choice C is clearly the best answer. All right, well done. As we wrap up this passage, I must ask again, what are you going to take with you as you move forward to the next passage in the reading comprehension? And you want to remember that the best practice makes plain or clear the process that you will follow. So it is time once again to check in with yourself. What are you already doing that is effective and efficient? What changes do you need to make? Do you need to change how you approach reading the passage? Or maybe how you approach answering the questions? Remember, with each passage and questions that you complete, you are becoming more efficient and effective. So keep paying attention to the methods and keep practicing.